Okay, good day, Gemma. Let's begin editing your essays. Okay, you your first sentence is spot on. Uh, in your second sentence, perhaps say that in all three regions, the most amount of the budget was spent on education and leisure. Okay, that would improve the sentence grammatically. Okay, looking at the charts in more detail, while Yorkshire spent the same proportion of money on education as Lancashire, Derbyshire spent less money than their counterparts, being a quarter of their budget, 25%. In contrast, Derbyshire spent almost one-third of their money on leisure. Okay, that's all clear and good. Okay, the proportion of money invested in leisure in Lancashire was roughly similar to the proportion invested in education, representing just over a quarter. Okay, uh, this is a good sentence in particular. Okay, read very smoothly. Okay, you can simplify this sentence and say, if we look at the other four categories of expenditure, different patterns can be observed. Okay, Lancashire spent around 8% uh, in each category, whereas these proportions were clearly different in Yorkshire and Derbyshire. For example, social services represented about 10% uh, of Yorkshire's, you could say, total expenditure, whereas this category represented a tiny 2% of Derbyshire's total expenditure. Okay, that just neatens the sentence up somewhat. Okay. Overall, although education and leisure were the most important categories in all three regions, the other four categories were represented in different proportions depending on the region. Okay, that's a good concluding paragraph because you are looking at a general pattern or trend that you saw throughout the graph. Okay, very good. Okay, it is true that traditional education is seen by some people as a, instead of old-fashioned, say, as an outdated way to teach, okay, children. While some experts in the matter have started a revolution, okay, in the matter suggest that we need to start a revolution in order to modernize the school curriculum and improve the overall standard of education. Uh, Other people argue that some features of the traditional school system are still useful. Okay, so a number of changes that I've made over there. Uh, Now, of course, you do need another sentence to complete your introduction. Okay, but we won't focus on that. Okay, firstly, one cannot deny that a few academic subjects taught in school have become worthless. A few, just emphasize that they are traditional ones. This is because these days information access is easier, quicker, and cheaper than it used to be, and this fact becomes more evident with the use of. Okay, now a problem here is that you haven't given a straightforward explanation for why traditional academic subjects have become worthless. Okay, um, so just try to give a more straightforward explanation for that. Okay, now according to the sentence guide, you do not need that sentence. Your next sentence is talking about your example. Okay, then over here, you should mention where the example comes from. So for instance, for example, according to the University of Oxford, okay, and then your study should support what you say here, which is that traditional academic subjects taught in school have become worthless. So if I were to rewrite this, I'd say, for example, according to uh, the University of Oxford, uh, many traditional subjects like uh, history and biology or for okay, for example, according to the University of Oxford, a traditional subject like history has decreased in value because many of the events that it talks about are no longer relevant to understanding today's modern world. Okay, uh, so that's something that is consistent with what you claim in the first sentence of this paragraph. Okay, now your concluding sentence should refer back to the central claim in your introduction. So, therefore, it is clearly the case that traditional modes of education are limited and that they should be replaced by new innovative systems. Okay, something like that. Okay, I'm just reading through this paragraph silently. Okay, now here it's simply a case of you've run out of words and you're not sticking to the sentence guide structure. Um, some of the things you say here are fine, they're good, but you'd be able to express yourself much more clearly and convincingly if you used a similar structure to the structure that you use over here. Okay? Okay, this is a good concluding sentence. In conclusion, although some values taught in the classical school are still valuable, useful, and important, okay, without an S, there are also possible alternatives which might enable us to have a better education. Okay, so this was a decent essay, Gemma. Uh, really, my only suggestion would just be to stick to the sentence guide structure more closely uh, throughout your essay. Okay, so thank you very much and good luck with your exam.